So, Jaina Proudmoore went off in a huff at the start of Legion, sulking, taking her dummy with her. And we're expecting to meet her again. In fact, we sort of know we are. The artwork for what's going to be the big announcement with World of Warcraft at Blizzcon is very much based around Jaina. And we're sort of imagining, yeah, in the next expansion, she's going to be coming back. It's all Kul Tiras. She's from there. Old Gods, South Seas, all makes sense. But is she going to be coming back a lot sooner? Might not be as far-fetched as we think, because of what's said, the very small snippet of what is said about the WoW novel, which has just been made available for pre-order. It's not coming out until next May. So what is this? First of all, it says before the storm. Now, the storm, I think, would relate to, again, the idea of some attack on the high seas. I think the next expansion is going to be very oceanic in context. Again, you know, we're going to the South Seas, almost certainly. We sort of know about Kul Tiras, but I'll come on to that in a moment as well. And also, you think about it this way, there aren't actually any real land masses left to go to for new zones at the moment, unless they conjure one out of thin air, which of course is possible. But why do that when there's some ready-made? And again, we've had links about it already. And then there's what's said about it, because before the storm, you know, in terms of the novel is, you know, it's before the storm. But at the same time, the storm has to feature in that novel. Otherwise, the title doesn't make sense for people just reading a book. So what we're told about it is, it says this on the advertisement for the book, taking place after the climactic events of Shadows of Argus. So that's where we are now. So immediately that this patch is over with, that's when this kicks off. It says, before the storm tells the story of what awaits the heroes of the Horde and the Alliance in the wake of their struggle against the demonic Burning Legion. So classic bridge between the aftermath of dealing with what we've just dealt with in Antorus, which we haven't dealt with it yet, but we're going to quite soon, and what comes in the next expansion. But here's the thing. In past expansions, you might have just thought, okay, a bit of a story bridging the gap. But Blizzard have made great shakes of the fact that we're not going to be having a content drought here. They've been bringing out content very regularly. They've been true to their word in this expansion. It's a bit, you know, and I know what it's been like ever since they started these content droughts. It's a bit like, oh, that was terrible. They'll never do that again. They've obviously messed something up. They'll sort it out for the next one. And then they didn't, and then they didn't, and then they didn't. And so a lot of people would have lost faith. But be fair, that content has kept coming. They're not now just going to stop, you know, because the next expansion, that would come out next autumn, you would imagine, whether it comes out like September or October or November, but one of those months, surely. Now, if Antorus is just the last major piece of content, that's going to be a content drought of round about a year, maybe 10 months, but that's still a content drought in anyone's books. So there has to be more content. We know we're not going to get another tier raid. There's hints that we might get a smaller raid, like a Trial of Valor type thing. But raid aside, there's got to be more content. And more content means more storyline. There has to be more storyline. So what could it be about? And here's the thing. So, yeah, we're focused in on this storm thing. We're focused in on the fact that we've seen Kul Tiras stuff, which again I'm going to come to. So, South Seas, Kul Tiras, Jaina's from Kul Tiras, N'Zoth, the old god associated with the ocean most strongly, Naga, all that sort of stuff. But here's the thing. The reason why we're sort of certain Kul Tiras is featuring is because a while ago there was some armour that was data mined. Kul Tiras armor. It wasn't just that it was called Kul Tiras armor, because the name of armor can, you know, people, when it's for content that's not out yet, they can put any old thing in to throw us off. But this was clearly Kul Tiras armor because it had maps of Kul Tiras on the armor, like tattered parchments of Kul Tiras. So, and this was very, very strange, because how did this happen? If it wasn't deliberate, and you can't rule out the fact that it was deliberate just to whet our appetites, but Blizzard tend not to do that. They tend to want to keep their cards very close to their chest. Obviously, things can change, but it seemed like a strange slip. Now, the other thing is, so we're sort of going from the, oh, Kul Tiras in the next expansion. This is armor from the next expansion. But is it? Because we're led to believe, and there's no reason to doubt this, by the way, that the expansions are now being developed in parallel. So we were told that Warlords of Draenor and Legion were developed in parallel. They actually could have gone either way with them. They started them at the same time. They could have gone Legion first and then WoD. They went WoD first because they thought it would tie into the film, but then the film was delayed by a year, so it all went tits up anyway. But so then Legion out, and then the expansion that we're going to be getting soon has also been developed in parallel. As soon as WoD was finished, that team moved to there. So we've got two teams, one working on one expansion, one on another, and sort of always working like that. Obviously, the senior designers are going to have a foot in both camps. But there's actual designers whose sole job it is to work on this expansion at this particular time. So different camps for the Legion stuff and whatever's next. So then you think to yourself, so who put these files in there? So let's say it wasn't deliberate. It was an accident. Surely that has to be someone working in the Legion group. Well, someone working on the Legion stuff isn't going to be designing armor for the next expansion. There's other designers doing that. So what's going on? So then we look at the armour itself. So it's got these tattered parchments of Kul Tiras. Now, you get the strong impression that that's not the latest fashion on Kul Tiras, is it? You haven't got people walking around in the South Seas Islands with parchments of Kul Tiras on them. It looks like the armour of exiles, doesn't it? People who are no longer on Kul Tiras. Maybe stranded. Maybe marooned. Now we're starting to open up some interesting possibilities. What if the armour is for Legion? What if it's for patch 7.4? What if what's going to happen is we're going to get a ship wash up on the Broken Isles, shipwrecked, and on it a load of people with this sort of armour, some of which may be obtainable for players to wear. Who knows? It may just be NPC armour, wearing this stuff and recanting like tales of what's going on in Kul Tiras. So maybe 7.4 is all about this story that's coming from there. They're telling us about maybe the rise of the old gods. Maybe there's going to be a little link there. There's going to be a mini event, maybe tied to the pre-expansion patch as well. And then I'm not suggesting we're going to Kul Tiras in Legion. I still, you know, that's surely for the next expansion. But maybe we're going to have this actual bridge in Legion. This is starting to now make sense. And maybe along with these guys, we're going to have Jaina coming along, who's basically saying, look, guys, we need to work together on this. I know the burning... I mean, that's the bit that doesn't make sense to me, perhaps, because, you know, the Burning Legion was about to wipe out Azeroth. And she went, no, I'm not doing this, just because she was a bit stroppy. And now, all of a sudden, because of something else happening, she'll be coming back. But we don't know about that side of it. But I am now increasingly convinced, and I know we're going to find out soon enough, I'm increasingly convinced that this armour is intended for Legion. It's going to be coming out in Legion. It may just be the pre-expansion patch, but it's now starting to look more like the 7.4. Again, with this synopsis from the book, well, such as it is, it's not a great synopsis for the novel. I mean, taking place immediately after Shadows of Argus, relating to the events that we're going to be moving into in the next expansion. So there we go. Those are my thoughts. That's my logic. Sure, there's a few little leaps of faith required there. There's always a few little leaps of faith when you talk about speculation, because we can't possibly know. It's not like Blizzard deliberately leave clues for us to follow. And yes, you can work it out like your Poirot. But let me know what you think below. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share for further content. And until next time, I'll see you later.